Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Upside Life, and I'm your host, Linda Ketcher. Now, we've been going through a series on shifting our mindset from 5 things so that we can become happier. Number 1 being self, number 2 being others, achievements or failures, number 3 being the past, then our background, and then the lies that the enemy keeps whispering in our ears. So today I want to round up the last 3 in one video, which is this one, and I want us to shift our mindset from the past. People's past is different depending on the person. Some people's past is relatively good, some people's past is really bad, not that great. But I want to draw us to a man called Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was living in Canaan with his father and his 11 brothers. But 10 of his brothers were envious because he had these dreams where they felt like he wasn't coming truthfully to them, and they were envious of him, so they ended up betraying him. And they sold him as a slave in Egypt. And so he had betrayal in his past from his own brothers. He had trauma. There's this one time they were wondering what to do with him, and they threw him in a pit. And he was there for several hours, calling out to them and wondering. So he had trauma. And then there was alienation. He was alone in a different country as a slave, and that is how his past looks like. So you would think that maybe this man is going to let this deter him, but we see that God helped him. He decided to shift his focus from his past, and he now began to think about what God had given him in the present. God had given him work to do. Yes, he was working as a slave, but he was diligent at it, and he worked really well. Well, he also got another betrayal there, but we see that later on, even when he was in prison, he worked so well. He was put above the prisoners to help look after them. And all the while, God was preparing him to take care of a whole nation. God opened up a door for him to become the prime minister. So I see that he shifted his focus from his past, and at one point, when presented with his brothers, he forgave them. Which tells us that in order to shift our focus from the past and the trauma and the betrayals and all the bad experiences, we need to forgive. Me and you, we need to forgive those people. It doesn't mean we are going to become best friends with them. It doesn't mean that they're going to now come and hang out with us every day. But we forgive them and let them go. That weight on our heart that makes us feel depressed or anxious or nervous, when we forgive people, that weight lifts off of our hearts, and then we can become happier, right? So the past doesn't have to limit you or deter you from getting happier. You can become happier by focusing on the work that God has blessed you with, being diligent with it, and also forgiving those people that hurt you. Now, in as far as background is concerned, there's a man called Mordecai in the Bible. He was a slave in Babylon. He too was an Israelite. So he's here, he's a slave, he's a foreigner, he's in Babylon, but he also gets a job in the palace. So he's working diligently here and there. And you would think that if he's a slave, then he's not going to go very far. No. He didn't let his background deter him as well. And he didn't focus on, me, I'm like this, I am less privileged and what. No. The gift of work that God gave him, he took it up. He worked diligently, he worked well. So much so that when God was looking for someone to favor, when the king was looking for someone to favor, they remembered Mordecai because he had saved the king's life. And he was honored. And not only that, later on, he became a prime minister as well. So his background did not define who he became. So I don't know how your background looks like, whether you're from a poor family or a mediocre family, or you're from a rich background. Whichever background you have, it does not define who you become. Recently, I was looking at a meme of the gentleman that owns Amazon, and when they show you the picture where he started from, even if it were to be me, I'll be like, how do I start from here? But remember, we say don't focus on others' failures or achievements. Get what you have in your hands. Use what you have in your hands, okay? Don't look around. What do you have in your hands? Use that diligently. And that's what Mordecai did, and he became a prime minister with the grace and favor of God. So the common denominator between Joseph and Mordecai, we see, is God. Bottom line, you want to become happier, you need a relationship with God, because he is the one that is the joy giver. So when the lies, last point, when the lies of the enemy come whispering in your ear, you are not good enough, no one cares about you, you are all alone, everybody is moving forward, everybody is out to get you, that's also a lie of the devil. Men are like this, women are like this. Lies of the devil to hinder you from having great connections. So when all those lies, are in your ears, what does God say? What does God say about you? What is God saying about your situation? In order for you to know what God says about your situation, what God is saying about you, you need to have a relationship with him. And once that is in place, once you have a relationship with God, you're going to become happier. It's a guarantee. I think for me, that is the number one thing, actually, a relationship with God, because he is present. He is reliable. He has truth for you and me that can shut down every lie the enemy tries to bring, whether concerning your past or your background or your present situation. The truth of God shuts down every lie, and he's so true. The Bible says, let every man be a liar, but God alone be true. That is how true he is and how loyal and reliable he is. So that's how we're going to shift our mindsets. And once our mindsets have shifted and we now have a good mindset, and we are now starting to think happier, starting to, do things from a place of, being happy, we're now going to shift and then do things practically. So my next video, we're going to start looking at the practical ways we can begin to live more contented and happier lives. The cooking, the baking, the gifting. That's what we're going to get into. See you in my next video. This is The Upside Life.